In this video, we're going to talk about finding the volume of a cone. So this is a cone shape. If you're not sure what I mean, think about a traffic cone or an ice cream cone or a teepee, that kind of idea. So the brilliant person, whoever it was, who came up with the volume formula for this. Remember, volume again, we're talking about how many kind of cubes can we fit in there. Not simple to visualize because this is not the kind of shape you can imagine sticking cubes into. But if you could do that, you'd be able to find it by going pi times r squared times h divided by 3, where r is the radius and h is the height, and obviously pi is 3.14. So this formula is a little bit scary looking, but it's the same process. We're just plugging the numbers in. So the example question says, what is the volume of this cone? Use pi equals approximately 3.14 and round your answer to the nearest hundredth. So let's write down what we know. Volume of a cone equals pi r squared h divided by 3. So pi is 3.14 times our radius. We can see that right here. From the outside of the circle into the middle is 7, it says, 7 meters. And that's squared. Then times the height, which we can pretty easily see from the center of the base all the way up to the top of the cone. The peak is 19 meters. And then once we figured out that multiplication, we're going to divide the whole thing by 3. Remember, exponents come first when we think of order of operations and bed mass. So I'm going to do that part very first. 7 meters squared, 7 times 7 is 49. So I'm rewriting 3.14 times 49 meters times 19 meters divided by 3. And I just moved that over a little bit to give us some more space. So I'm going to start just by doing this multiplication part, plug that into my calculator. I always like to think and estimate first. 3-ish times about 50 is like 150 times 20. 150 times 2 would be 300. So I'm going to stick another 0 on the end of that. So like 3,000-ish. So having plugged that multiplication to my calculator, I get it to be 2,923.34, which was close to our idea of around 3,000. So now I'm going to see what that is divided by 3. My calculator comes out to be 974.446. So because that in the thousands place is the 6, I'm going to round that last 4 up to a 5. So the volume of our cone is 974.45 meters cubed. Here's another one where we're just plugging in the numbers. What is the volume of this cone? Use pi equals approximately 3.14 and round your answer to the nearest hundredth. We see our radius is 17, our height is 19. Let's start plugging in. Volume of a cone equals pi times our radius was 17 squared times 19. I'm not sure what 17 squared is, so I'm going to plug that into the calculator. So 17 times 17 is 289. So I'm just going to put in 3.14 this time times 19. Then I'm going to, we forgot to write the divide by 3. Divided by 3. Divided by 3. Oops, daisies, that was close. But I'm going to do the multiplication part first anyway in my calculator. I like to do one step at a time. But I'm going to think about it. 3 times what's close to 300 is like 900. Times another 20. 900 times 2 would be like 1,800. Stick another 0 on the end of it. 1,000, so 18,000. Let's see. Yeah, so the answer for that multiplication came out to be 17,241.74. I still need to divide that by 3. So according to the calculator, that comes out to be, so that top number, the 17,001 divided by 3, comes out to be 5,747, and it's 246. So the 6 in the thousands place is going to mean we're going to round that 4 up to a 5. And that is centimeters cubed, volume of a cone. So this is the last one I'm going to show you where we're just plugging in the numbers and solving for the volume. What is the volume of this cone? Use pi equals approximately 3.14. Round your answer to the nearest hundredth. Be careful, the trick here, I can see the height is 10, but the diameter is 12. So if the diameter is 12, our radius must be 6. Don't fall into that silly trap. Okay, let's write out what we know. Volume of a cone is pi times the radius, 6 squared, times the height, which is 10, divided by 3. So 3.14. I'm going to solve that exponent. 6 squared, 6 times 6 is 36, times 10 divided by 3. So let's do the multiplication in my calculator first. 3 times 36, 3 times 30 is 90, probably around 100, times 10, maybe around 1,000. Calculator says comes out to be 1,130.4 divided by 3. And that comes out to be 376.8. I'm thinking it might want us to put a 0 on the end. There's nothing else the calculator says, but it said to the nearest hundredth. Keep in mind, really, remember that if you didn't put that 0, if you just ended with 376.8, that's still the same number. We've talked about that with equivalent decimals. But because it's asking you to round to the nearest hundredth, it might be wise to include that 0 in the invisible 0, essentially, in the hundredths place. And that is obviously centimeters cubed. In this last example, we're having to use those algebraic skills again. It says, the volume of this cone is 194.994 cubic meters. What is the radius of this cone? Use pi equals approximately 3.14 and round your answer to the nearest hundredth. So we have our height, we don't have the radius, that's what we're trying to find out, but we do already know what the volume of the cone is. So let's write in what we know. Our volume of our cone is 194.994. So that equals pi, which we know, 3.14, times r squared, which we don't know, times the height, which is 9.2, divided by 3. So remember, when we're using our algebraic understanding, we want to isolate the variable. And the variable here is r, the radius. So first thing I want to do, this 3 is annoyingly sticking out there, so let's get rid of that. Opposite of divided by 3 is times 3. What we do to one side, we have to do the other. That cancels that out. So now I'm going to do 3 times 194.994 in my calculator. Calculator says that equals 584.982. Ms. Cooper, how many decimal places should I be writing down when I'm doing this? You'll talk more about this as you go into grade 8 and grade 9, but I usually keep 2 or 3. There was only 3 places when I did it on the calculator, so I have no problem writing those down. So now we have that equals 3.14 times r squared times 9.2. Let's go ahead and divide by 9.2 so we can get rid of that. Divide by 9.2 on each side. Obviously, these two cancel out. And I'm going to plug 584.982 divided by 9.2 into my calculator. Calculator says it equals 63.585. So now we have that equals 3.14 times r squared left. I'm just going to switch those around so it's a little more visual for us. 3.14 equals 63.585. Sorry, it's getting a little sloppy. I want to get rid of that 3.14 from the right side, so I'm going to divide by 3.14. Divide by 3.14. It's going to make this a little smaller so it's easier to see. Well, more like so I have some more room. So here we are. We just did the divide by 3.14, so those cancel out. So in my calculator, I'm going to do 63.585 divided by 3.14. Calculator says that is 20.25 equals r squared. So now you might be saying, Ms. Cooper, I don't know what times what equals 20.25. You might have noticed that the practice task I have you doing for this one is actually from grade 9, which I realize is a bit of a jump for us, but it is in our British Columbia curriculum for grade 7. the IXL program, I guess they are American and don't feel like they should do that till grade 9. So I'm sorry we haven't talked a ton about this, but you really are going to have to do the opposite operation to squared, which is the square root. So on your calculator, you're going to want to type in square root. It might have a little 2 over it. My one did. 20.25. And when I did that, it came out, which that equals the radius, and that comes out to be 4.5 equals r. So our answer is 4.5 meters. It does ask for the nearest hundredth, so you might want to write in that 0. It might be a bit picky about that because it's a computer. But remember, 4.5 is right as well. Okay, this is a little bit of a stretch for you, but good luck. I think you can do it.